Why do some people sound and look like they're working on the chain gang when other people are spontaneously, vibrantly enjoying life? Why are some out gardening, squatting, moving around, playing with dogs, and others are groaning from that first moment they get out of bed and then taking those first steps and measuring their pain level for what they'll be able to do the rest of the day? Why have some people quit picking up things off the floor, have difficulty putting on their shoes and their socks, and then other people get up and get going very quickly, or they bounce up and down the stairs for laundry without thinking about it? Why are some out hiking, jogging, golfing, and others have the feeling that somehow their bodies have just not met up to their expectation and they're missing out on life? The question really is, why do some people move freely and others struggle daily? So we're going to share the answers to this question as we explore moving better, feeling better, and living better. Hi, I'm Cynthia Allen. I'm creator of Your Learning Body. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner and a published researcher. Welcome to this video workshop, Your Learning Body, Move Better, Feel Better, Live Better. In this first video, you'll discover a process for reversing that spiral down into increasing discomfort and limitation into a more expansive, comfortable way of living. You'll experience how quickly you can start to change. And once you taste how this body-mind connection works, I think you'll start feeling optimistic again. So if you're surprised that you've come to this place where pain, discomfort, tension, injury has left you in a life that's growing smaller and smaller and smaller, I hope you'll hang in there with me for the rest of this video, because you can discover through this process how everyone can learn to move better, feel better, live better. Now, the goal of this workshop is just pretty simply to help you realize your body as a portal of learning. And I want to say that again. Your body is a portal of learning. And really what matters is, what is it learning? Is it learning to create wear and tear, or is it learning to create wear and repair? So once you tap in to the quality of your learning body, the ability of it to learn to wear and repair, I think you'll surprise yourself. You'll have an opportunity for some of that improvement today. So are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Now, before we jump in, I want to warn you about something that is critically important, and ignoring this will virtually guarantee a limited, maybe even not so pleasant outcome. Right now, you might be thinking, hey, Cynthia, I'm injured. You don't realize I'm injured. Or I've got bone on bone. I haven't got any cartilage left in my knee. Or perhaps you're thinking, you don't really know how old I am. Well, most of us basically have some idea about how we're stuck with our bodies, or some aspect of our bodies. And actually that starts really young. It starts before we've ever gotten injury. We have ideas about limitations. Maybe we think we inherited it. Some people think they inherited their posture or their gait. Or maybe you have arthritis, or you've got a bad back. Maybe the doctor told you, hey, your x-rays look awful. Well, I want you to think about whether or not you really want to be limited by that belief, because my experience is that regardless of what your diagnosis or situation is, everyone can improve. So we want to shake that belief that things maybe can't change, can't be different, and we're going to do it by using two words: what if? What if my diagnosis really isn't the limitation? What if I can have less pain? What if I can learn to move better, feel better, live better? So if you're ready to entertain what if, then let's continue on. Give yourself a moment to think about that. Maybe you would even write it down on a piece of paper, or you'd write it down in the comments here on the video. You ready to go on? Okay. So one of your other hesitations might be that you're thinking that I'm going to teach you something that you already know about. You're thinking, I'm going to show you how to exercise. No. I'm going to show you stretches. No. How about Pilates? No. Yoga? No. Strength training. Everybody knows it's about getting strong. It's about your core. No. You're going to tell me just to get out and walk more, aren't you? No. Likely you've tried some or all of that either in rehab or exercise programs or signed up for classes, and it didn't deliver at least everything. Maybe it delivered some, but it didn't deliver everything that you wanted. So this is really a whole new way of coming towards yourself and your relationship to movement. I'm sure you'll agree that when people tell you that moving without pain or injury is simple, usually they describe it as something like, just don't do too much. Stay within your own particular range. And you are going to hear me say some of those kinds of things, but I'm going to also give you the tools for how to actually learn to do that. But you've gone to those exercise classes, you've gone to the yoga classes, you went to Pilates, and you tried to stay within your range and you still got hurt. Actually, I'm somebody who's done that a few times. So let's see what we can discover in how you can really learn to have less pain and be able to maybe do what in your life again? What is that something you would like to do in your life again? If you hear yourself having doubts, come back to what if? What if it's really true? I will be able to do this again. Now we've heard about more pain, more gain. This is like an American mantra, right? We are an independent nation. We're going to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're going to go out and get it. We're going to jump out of an airplane as an armed forces personnel and be all that we can be. I mean, we really love this image. And there's a certain value, of course, to having that great pioneer spirit. But it can be a problem sometimes. It can be overdone. I'll help you demystify how your body learns to produce pain and learns to produce ease so that you'll be on a new path. In this workshop, we'll look at the keys to switching on your learning body and give you a movement experience that demonstrates those keys. Before I outline the keys, you might want to know how I really got into this. Well, I was born on a farm in Missouri, and it's such a pleasure to be out here today on a farm in Kentucky with one of my friends' place. It's beautiful. You can hear the streams. It so reminds me of where I was raised at. And I had a really idyllic life in many ways, but I also had a lot of trauma. So I had chronic pain starting from a very young age. I had limitations in my movement. I was really never able to run properly. Athletics, that was not something in my capacity. I just didn't seem to have it in me. I graduated, moved away from home, started to go on to school, go on to my career, and I did well in the outside world, but I would come home and I would just be done. I didn't have the energy to cook. I'd go to the grocery store and have to lean on the cart, go out to the car and take a break. I had so much pain and difficulty in my body. It was difficult for me to even stand up. Like just standing here now, I would never have done that back then for any length of time. I would have found something to lean against. I couldn't do it. So by the time I hit 30, I was pretty non-functional, and I knew I had to do something. And my exercise classes, back then it would have been like Jane Fonda jazzercise type stuff, they were not cutting it for me. Things were just not helping. So I started doing some holistic approaches, and I actually started getting better with some of those. But then I tried the Feldenkrais method, and things dramatically changed for me. Literally started to change that first class. So from there, I played around with those classes for about a year, went on to sign up to become a practitioner because it was so impactful, and now 20 years later, I have helped thousands of people with the Feldenkrais rhymes with paradise method. And I think that you will find it to be as impactful as I did. Now, my husband and I, Larry Wells, have a practice in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he too, using his own field of study, has been helping thousands of people over the last, well, he's a little older than me, so we'll have to say over the last 30 years. But you can only help so many people one-to-one. You can't actually get that outreach. So a few years ago, I started to work on Your Learning Body as an online way of expanding our reach. So this opportunity to reach you with a workshop is really important, and I'm excited to do that for you. So I'll be sharing that approach of how you can have less pain, more gain, and how I learned to love myself and really appreciate myself. And wow, that was definitely not present for me before I started this work. Now I'm aging. I have different challenges, But I have a learning body that I can tap into, and that is what I want for you, to have a learning body that you can tap into and learn things that actually expand your life instead of learning things that decrease it. So the purpose of these keys to switching on your learning body is to give you a roadmap of tapping into the power of your body-mind. I've got it in a little PDF format for you if you want to find that in the description here of the workshop, the link to that. You could pause the video, download it, and then as we go through them, you can identify your opportunities. So go ahead, pause. Okay, you ready? Let's get started. So here are the keys to switching on your learning body. And I'm going to briefly read them, and then we'll come back and go over the first two. So respecting yourself, slowing down and taking time, unique but meaningful stimulation, sensing differences, experimenting with sequencing and timing, identifying unhelpful beliefs, creative engagement. Okay, so let's go back to respecting oneself. Now this can look a lot of different ways. First, it could just be respecting your own background, your own beliefs. So even when you find yourself being skeptical, you don't have to be harsh on yourself. You could respect that. You could also think about how you've had a lot of different things happen in your life. And this has helped to form who you are today, and there's positives and negatives to that. And yes, you may in fact have bone on bone, or you may have some injury that gives you a challenge. I don't think it needs to be the limitation that you think it needs to be, but you should respect that issue as we do any kind of explorations together. And let's see if it starts to shake loose because of the quality of the respect you have for yourself. So this is really different than push through the pain, feel the burn, do more. We're going to do way less than that. And that's where the miracle is really going to come in. Now, slowing down and taking time. This is something that really doesn't fit into our culture, does it? I mean, I've been trying to figure out how to make this video shorter because I know everybody wants really short videos. And then I'm going to sit here and talk about slowing down and taking time. Well, it's a bit of a challenge, but it's a really important one for us to meet. If you want to actually get better, you have to get to know yourself. And getting to know yourself comes in the slowing down. That's actually one of the things I love about coming out into nature. It just slows us down, right? The nature itself has a way of saying, hey, this is the new rhythm, not the rhythm out there of Facebook, videos, YouTube. This is the rhythm, just the sound here of the creek in the background and the insects starting to make noise around us as dusk starts to come on. So it's a really beautiful thing when you start to slow down. And when you start to slow down, you can actually get to know yourself and what you're doing. So for example, if I ask you to turn and look to the right now, most people will do a movement something like that. It'll be very quick and it'll be very jerky, and they'll run into a roadblock and stop. Won't even really know what you saw. I mean, you won't even really take in what you saw. I didn't take in what I saw. But if I ask you to turn your head and look at half that speed, okay, that's a little different. Now I'm starting to register something. And if you go half that speed, okay, this is starting to seem kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But I'm going to ask you to go a quarter that speed. And now you begin to feel your breath as you go. You can feel your weight shift as you go. You can take in what you're seeing. And you can feel where in that turning of the range is it really not so comfortable? Is something a little glitchy? And you need your nervous system to be able to register that in order to recalibrate and change. It's huge. If it can't register it, it can't change it. So very, very important. So I hope that you'll really think about these two keys as we go into the movement lesson. And we're going to get set up for that now. Okay, maybe you'd like to do a lesson now. You've been listening to me for a while and you might like to have a more full experience of what I'm talking about. So find a place to sit. You could do this in standing, but actually the best ways for this particular lesson to start off with would be in sitting. You could even do it lying down. And then if you are in sitting, you're going to want to sit at the front of the chair if that's available to you. Now, I'm on a park bench. It's not really ideal. It has a pretty big curve, so I got to get way out at the edge in order to start to feel if I can balance my pelvis so that I'm really in an upright position, not forward, which is what I feel like I want to do on this bench at the front, and especially since I'm talking to you, but I want to see if I can find that balancing point where I'm more upright. And I also am not looking to sit back on my tail. So any of those in between, if you rock your pelvis back and forth a little bit, you might begin to find a place where it feels like, I'm sitting kind of like on top of my sitting bone, my sit bones, my rocker bones, as opposed to forward on my genitalia or back towards my tailbone. Now, if sitting at the front of the chair is not possible for you right now, that's okay. Remember, this is about respecting yourself. So you would sit back in the chair. But you want to sit back in the chair in a very specific way if possible, and that is to get your bottom all the way back and then lean back. This is a really big difference than saying sitting kind of halfway back and then leaning back. You can tell that's a really different shape to my spine. So unless you really need that to be comfortable, I'm going to encourage you to sit all the way back, lean back, or come to the front where your thighs are mostly free from the surface. Your feet are about pelvis width apart, your knees are about pelvis width apart, and then your hands are, for the moment, lying on your thighs, and you might put them palm up. If you have a watch or a bracelet, I would suggest that you take that off, and I also suggest that if you're wearing glasses, you take those off. Now you might say, I'm not going to be able to see you. Really, you don't need to see me because this is an internal experience, but if you need to put your glasses back on once in a while to take a little check, that's fine too. Okay, so now we just arrive at this, whatever upright feels like to you right now, and the hands, the shoulders are relaxed, and just feel your breathing. Now, you don't have to breathe any special way. You're just noticing how your breath is and what you feel move as a result of your breathing. Now go ahead and lift one arm into the air. And I'm not going to say which one, so just lift any arm into the air. And as you lift it, any way you want to lift it, notice how heavy does it feel, how much effort is it, what's the range of motion that's available to you without causing pain? Remember, less pain, more gain. Okay, so you might do that once or twice. And then you're going to try the other arm. Pick the other arm up, lift it. And usually people choose the arm that is less functional to lift, less available to lift the second time. They kind of wait on it. It's not a 100% rule, but the majority of people will choose the easy arm first. I don't know, is that true for you? And again, notice the sense of how heavy it is, how much effort you need to put into it, and how high do you lift it without causing yourself pain or discomfort. And you could go back and compare one arm to the other and see if you can get as clear as you can about what's different about them and maybe which arm needs the most improvement. Now, we could do this a couple of different ways. You could work with the arm that needs improvement, and I suggest that you do that if you only have like a little discomfort, a little bit of a problem. Maybe you didn't even think you had a problem until you started comparing them. But if you have a problem that's more significant, where you like get your arm up around here or here and you go, oh, I don't think I can lift it anymore, Cynthia. I don't think I can lift it. Don't do that arm. You choose the one that's more functional until you see what it is that we do, and then later you can come back and watch a replay and do the entire thing with your other arm when you're ready. Okay? So choose an arm that you would like to work with. Now, you're going to let that arm, whichever arm it is, just fall off the side of your body so that it's hanging. If you're on the ground, on the floor, it would be laying against the floor. But in a sitting position, it'll just be hanging in the air. And just feel what it's like to hang in the air. Feel the ear, feel the shoulder, the distance between the ear and the shoulder. And then just bring the hand up onto the thigh ever so gently so that the palm strokes the thigh, and then the hand goes back off to the side and hangs down again. And we're going to do this very slowly. Remember, slow down, take your time. And as you do the same movement with a little bit of a pause in between, you can feel the textures of your clothing. You feel maybe your hand feels your leg, or maybe your leg can feel your hand. And then bring the hand on and start to take it past the thigh onto the belly. And then you stroke back down. Now this is a little bit of an arc that we're making. And we're looking to see how little effort do we really need to do, particularly with the upper arm and the shoulder, in order to bring the arm into the air. If your eyes close and you feel comfortable doing that, please do that. There's no reason that you need to continue to look at me the whole time. And the hand comes onto the thigh, comes up to the belly, and then when is the moment that the elbow really needs to follow the movement? And so I said follow, and that's a really different word than say lift, because there's a habit for many people which is right from the beginning to lift their elbow out to the side as their hand comes. And their hand is really not coming in an arc then, and there's a lot of work that goes on through the elbow and upper arm. Okay, so bringing the arm back up again, just seeing if you can let go of any tendency to lift the arm out to the outside, just let it follow along. In fact, you could take your other hand and just grab that elbow and bring it along a little bit. But you're looking for a pathway that really feels good to you, both going up and going down. Now, I'm going to suggest that you come up the midline towards your chest, towards your mouth, but that might not be right for you. So you might need to let your hand come over to the other shoulder. You might need to let your hand come up on the same shoulder. You get to play around with the trajectory. That's part of respecting yourself. That's part of slowing down and taking your time. So you have all these options available to you that you may not realize you have in every single moment, every single movement. There's a lot of options available. As your awareness grows, you can take them. Keeping the hand in contact with the body as much as possible, as long as that's comfortable for you. And that just gives a signal to the nervous system that everything is fine, it's calm, your arm is not going to be taken out away from you in some big wild angles. Generally provides a lot of safety. So you're coming up either to the shoulder now, or to the mouth, to the nose, to the head, forehead, and then back down. This idea of bringing our own hands into contact with our body is unsurprisingly novel for adults. We really don't touch ourselves very much except for the basic necessities. So just to bring a hand along your own body and maybe be okay with that or even enjoy that is a novel sensation. And the hand comes up the face now to the forehead and comes up to land somewhere on the head. And find a comfortable place where your hand can rest on your head. And in this position, you're just going to turn a little bit from one side to the other. And you're not turning the head underneath the hand. No, the hand, it's like it's glued to the top of the head. And you turn to look to the left or the right, and your elbow and your shoulder and your upper chest is going to follow you. Be sure your chest goes along with you. And you might even feel that there's some movement happening in your pelvis, like one knee slides forward and one knee slides back. Maybe, I don't know. And then again, bring the hand down, the front, slide it down, let the hand come onto the thigh, and let's just rest for a moment with palms up. And this gives you a chance to sort of check in with yourself. Like I'm realizing, oh, as I sit here and I talk a little longer, I'm reaching a little forward with my head and with my neck, and that's not really feeling that good. So I can begin to do just a small little adjustment. Maybe your shoulders have started to rise for some reason, not necessary. You might be able to just soften there a little bit. And you just take a breath or two and notice your breathing. And then let the same hand slide off the side again. It's important that we just work with the one arm, one hand throughout this lesson because that's going to give you some contrast. So sliding the hand back up, finding that pathway for you, coming over the mouth, the chin, or around the side of the face, putting the hand on top of the head, leaving it there. And now this time you're going to look up with your chest. And notice I said look up with your chest. Not with your neck, not with your head. Think of your chest rising upwards. That means the back, upper back will bend back a little bit. And then look a little down, and then it will round. So you go up and down, and it rounds. So you're arching your back one direction, and you're rounding it the other direction. The chest is getting soft, the elbow comes down. You're looking down between your feet. The chest rises, you look up, the elbow is pointed a little bit up. You're going to be way forward of your sitting bones in all likelihood. You round down, looking down, you're sitting more on the tailbone. Coming back to a neutral position, let's put this together into a little circle. And you might be able to find that that circle could be driven from your pelvis. So your head, your elbow, really your whole body is pretty much a unit here. And then reverse the direction. Now you can take a break anytime. This might be a long time for you to have your arm on your head. And then pausing, letting your hands slide back down, really taking your time again. Letting the hands just come to rest. So we're in a park now. You're hearing the sounds of the park around us. Lots of liveliness going on, people running, kids on bikes, people walking their dogs. Okay, so let the hand hang off the side again. Just notice if it's just starting to feel different as it hangs, something different happening along the entire side that you're working with. And then bring the hand up onto the belly. Bring it up over the chest, bring it over the mouth, over the face, over the forehead, and now slide right on past the head and let the arm come a little bit long into the air. Now for you, coming long into the air might be out in front, that's fine. Might be off to the side, that's fine. Might be directly overhead, whatever works for you. But as the arm does come up, be sure you start to feel that the armpit is starting to open a little bit. This has a lot to do with what the shoulder blade and the upper ribs are willing to do. And if you feel comfortable, you can let that armpit open out and look away from you, and then your hand might be looking away from you as well. And if you wanted to, you could reach up for an imaginary light switch or, a closet light, the string that you would want to pull. You could reach and you'll get really tall over that sitting bone as you try to find that cord to pull. Okay. And then bring your arm back in, slide it back down, hand down, bring it off to the side, let it hang again. Now we're going to do just one more thing. And that is, we're going to just see if we can play around with the ribs a little bit. So bring both hands to rest on your leg. Take your opposite hand now and place it underneath your armpit on the ribs. And just use the hand to pull the ribs towards the elbow that's out to the side, just to remind these ribs that they can move. And now you can move the hand around to a couple of different places. And just remind these ribs that they could move. Okay? It's important that they can move. Then pause, change over which hand reaches across. Put the other hand on your lap and then use the other hand to grab those ribs and just move them about a little bit. increase the distance between the armpit and the elbow that's pulling, right? The elbow that's pulling out to the right or to the left. And then pause. And notice again with hands up, you're starting to feel some interesting changes in your shoulders and your shoulder blades, in the softness of your face. And now let's just find out. Go back to lifting your arm the way you originally lifted it. So I don't know what that trajectory was like, but go ahead and lift it into the air and compare and find out, is it a little softer, a little less effort, maybe not quite as heavy? Perhaps there are places that actually feel pleasant as you go instead of some areas that feel tight or maybe even painful. Good. So that's one way that you could play with healing your shoulder, connecting it to your entire body, giving it the kind of support that it needs. And I hope it gave you an experience. I think it probably did give you an experience of what it means to slow down, take time, and to respect yourself. If you can, later, just in a few minutes, write in the comments, wherever the comments are and wherever you're watching this, what your experience was in this lesson. I'd love to hear that. If it was good, bad, or you had questions about it, I'll try to respond to them. And later you can do the other side when you like during a replay. Okay, so I mentioned I was a published researcher. Well, really, I'm like a little baby researcher, but I'm pretty proud of it anyway. We presented our paper in 2017 at the International Conference on Movement at Oxford University, and then it was subsequently published in the Journal of Functional Neurology, Rehabilitation, and Ergonomics. And in this study that took place over 6 weeks, participants with a mean age of 72, I believe, they were all over the age of 55, demonstrated improvement in balance, vitality, and general health. So it was using very similar movement lessons that we'll be doing in these video series and then eventually in your learning body. They also self-reported some really interesting functional improvements, such as getting up and down from the floor. Oh my gosh, people raved about their ability to get up and down from the floor again. Reaching, really big one, reaching up into the cabinet, getting down to put things underneath in a cabinet, climbing up on a ladder to change a light bulb, hanging up clothes on the line. A woman reported that her golf stance had improved and then her ability to concentrate in golf had made a big jump. A man reported that he was training for a 50-mile walk, and in that 50-mile walk training, he had been experiencing a lot of difficulty and soreness, and as he took the class, that all improved for him. So they got some fabulous results, and they were people with a really wide range of health issues. They were active, pretty active, but there was somebody there with post-polio who couldn't get up and down easily anymore, and then there was somebody there, like I said, training for a 50-mile walk. So it was a nice range of people, and almost everyone reported significant improvement. So you've had this opportunity for an improvement that exists in everybody. And in the next video workshop, we're going to look at movement that surprises. I like that title, actually. Pretty pleased with it. Movement that surprises. And then we'll also look at another 2 keys for switching on your learning body. And of course, we will have a movement lesson that demonstrates those 2 keys. And then think about these 2 questions. What would your life look like if you had less pain? What would your life look like if you had more comfort, more ease? How would your life be different if you were able to move better? So what did we learn today? Well, first, we learned about the first 2 keys in switching on your learning body, a way of creating less pain and more gain. We called those respecting yourself, slowing down and taking time. You learned about a way to start to improve motion in your shoulder and in reaching. And that's going to be a big game changer for you, these first 2 keys. You're going to need those keys as you look for these ways of moving better and feeling better. And, you know, frankly, it can make a huge difference in how you age. And I don't care whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, you are aging. Things are changing. And you may not notice it yet if you're in those early years, although I did, right? I was somebody who didn't have easy movement to begin with. But you definitely will notice it more as you get older, that you're going to need your smarts, your learning body. The next workshop, we'll look at another 2 keys, another movement lesson. I can't wait to be back with you. If you found this workshop helpful, someone else will too. So give them a hand by sharing it on Facebook, Twitter, emailing them the link, or just letting somebody know how to reach it. Okay? Thanks. I'll see you soon.